Howdy gamers, let's talk about the runes for Ekko. I'm going to talk about mid lane and jungle. So starting off with jungle, the Keystone is going to be Electrocute. Hitting an enemy champion with 3 separate attacks or abilities deals bonus adaptive damage. This damage is based off your level and ability power. And it's only on a 25-second cooldown, so it can function as a lane trading tool. And then you also have the threat of the damage in the laning phase, so whenever you're in a ranged matchup, you always have the threat of whenever you dive onto the enemy, you're simply going to be dealing more damage. And then come mid game, it's mostly just to have the extra burst damage um, whenever you catch someone out or jump onto them. It is single target, so it has that downside. If you're using it on a tank, it's just completely wasted in a team fight. But um, so long that you're playing Ekko properly, it's pretty hard to waste on Ekko compared to other assassin champions. So yeah, simply giving you more damage and then having a better laning tool. That's that's the primary reason why you wouldn't run Dark Harvest in the mid lane, is because if the enemy has no threat of the damage from Ekko, especially in the early levels, then it makes it so that they can bully you easier. And then if you lose control of the mid lane in the early levels, then you inevitably lose control of the map, and then things just start being out of your hands. And simply just from not having even just the threat of the damage from Electrocute. So yeah, and then having it is just simply more damage. For the secondary rune, it's going to be Sudden Impact. Whenever you use a dash, then you're going to gain 7 lethality and then 6 magic penetration. Ekko can proc this through his E dash, through his ult, through flash, and then even through proto belt. So you have lots of ways to use it, and then with it only having a 4-second cooldown, it's effectively going to be up at most of the stages whenever you're diving onto someone. So this is effectively like a minor keystone as well, because even though the damage numbers might not be crazy on sudden impact, they're going to be more impactful numbers um, as it's always going to be used whenever you're actually diving onto someone and trying to kill them, basically. For the third rune, it's going to be Ghost Poro. Um, with any of the runes in this row, you choose like how you build up the ability power from them. They all offer 30 ability power, but with Zombie Ward, you get the ability power through clearing wards. With Ghost Poro, you get the ability power through placing wards. And then with Eyeball Collection, you get the ability power through getting kills or assists. So with Ghost Poro, whenever your wards expire, they leave behind a Ghost Poro, which grants vision for 60 seconds. The extra vision offered by this is kind of whatever. It's nice, it's there, but it's the most consistent way to build up the ability power offered by this rune. Um, so, so that's that. If you feel like you're gonna win, then sure, take Eyeball Collection, but you better fucking win if you run it, or else you're just missing out on this ability power. In the fourth row, it's going to be Ravenous Hunter. You heal for a percentage of damage dealt by your abilities, and then the percentage of healing goes up per unique takedown. So you kill the top laner once, the jungler, mid laner, etc. You're going to get plus 2.5% healing on the abilities. The healing isn't that impactful early, but once you've got a killer assist on at least 2 or 3 targets, then the the healing can become more significant. Since Ekko spends his HP as a resource, like it's just kind of the way his kit's balanced around his W shield and then his ult healing him, being able to have more health to play with makes things just a lot easier, and then can also be really useful because if you're ahead on Ekko, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage, like a very significant amount of damage. Um, and then that's just going to be healing you more. And if you have more health to play with, you either can just survive longer, get more rotations of the abilities off, or just be like in a safer position in a team fight. So that's that. For the secondary runes, I'd recommend Sorcery with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. Um, both of these giving you ability power, and both of these in combination with Ghost Poro they're effectively going to give you about like a needlessly large raw amount of ability power come mid game. Absolute Focus ability power scales with your level. Gathering Storm ability power offered is based off the time in game. So you're basically going to be sitting on about 24 ability power from this rune for most of the game. And then if it goes later and later, then you get even more value, which is just icing on the cake basically. So yeah, getting like that much AP from just the runes is so insane. It makes your snowball potential pretty wild, and then even if you're behind, it's still giving you pretty good value. And then for adaptive runes, it's going to be adaptive force, and then depending on the matchup, you want to switch up the resistances that you're running. So if you're playing into physical damage matchups, obviously you want to be running the armor. So champions like Lucian, Kiana, Talon, etc. can run the +6 armor, and then if you're playing into mage matchups like Orianna, Syndra, etc., then obviously you want the magic resist instead. So these would be the default runes I'd recommend for Ekko mid lane. A bit of the variation would be on the secondary runes, where you could run free boots and then time warp tonic, but this takes a bit more execution, as this is playing for a very specific spike whenever you complete Proto Belt, and then with time warp tonic, this is used to bait the enemy into thinking that they can kill you. A higher level Ekko will hold their level 6 and then bait the enemy into thinking that like they just don't have the ult leveled, and then once they all in, that's when they level it, and then that's when they spend it. With Time Warp Tonic, it gives you the ability to get 50% of the healing from your Corrupting Potion immediately, and then again, it just adds to the bait factor. And then since you're in the Inspiration Tree, Magical Footwear would just offset 300 gold, so you spike with building Proto Belt and then Swordpin boots a lot faster if you were to do this. But you have to, one, you have to execute it properly, and then two, you have to have the matchup in which it works right, and then three, the enemy has to buy into it. The enemy has to get baited into trying to kill you. So it's way easier, and then probably just way more effective to just have the extra ability power offered from these. So these are the runes I recommend for Ekko mid lane. So with jungle, not that much changes. The things that do change is the Keystone changes to Dark Harvest. The adaptive runes, you have to run attack speed and then armor. And then you could run this, but you are going to have definitely just more fun if you're running Nimbus Cloak and then Water Walking. Because if you're playing Ekko Jungle, you're usually playing for like your map presence and then being useful through your damage. So starting off with the Keystone, switching to Dark Harvest makes more sense in the jungle, as whenever you show up to a gank, you're either finishing them off or getting them low in the first place. So even if you're not killing them, you're still getting value for a gank if you get a Dark Harvest stack. And then you don't need the Electrocute, as you're not laning against anyone. So missing out on this damage early isn't that bad. And then having the extra snowball potential, and then value even if you don't get a kill on an enemy champion from Dark Harvest is just more synergistic in the jungle role. And then with the secondary runes, Nimbus Cloak is kind of like, it's kind of a luxury rune, but damn, it's so effective, man. Especially in solo queue. Whenever you blue smite someone, you're going to get more movement speed towards them, and they're going to be slower. Sounds pretty good. And then whenever you flash, likewise, you're just going to be more slippery for the enemy to deal with. So you're going to have less levels and then effectively less health to play with as Ekko Jungle, but having the extra movement speed makes you more slippery, and if the enemy just can't hit you, then they can't damage you. So maybe you could view that as like having more effective health through dodging the enemy's abilities through having the more movement speed. And then with Water Walking, it has pretty obvious synergies as a jungler, where you gain 25 movement speed through the river, and then also a little bit of AP, so helps you whenever you're fighting around objectives or scuttle crabs, or whenever you're just moving through the river for a gank. If you were to play things slower, or if you're at a higher MMR, you're going to get more value out of free boots and Cosmic Insight, as since you're playing the jungle role, your income is pretty limited early, and if things are going even and if you're not getting kills, you can still be at a okay itemization timing come mid game, where you can have completed jungle item and then Swordpin boots, because again, offsetting the cost of free boots is mostly just to make Swordpin boots cheaper. And then since you're playing in the jungle as well, Cosmic Insight's going to get pretty good value, as you're going to have 5% cooldown reduction on your abilities, summoner spells, and items. And Ekko can make use out of all of this, which is nice, but mostly it's for the 5% CDR early, as in the jungle, if you have the abilities up more often, it helps you clear faster, and the faster you clear, the better your life is. With the adaptive runes, you would swap to attack speed, as the attacks, you're constantly going to be able to auto attack since you're just always in front of camps, and then having more attacks again, similar to the cooldown reduction, is just going to make it so that you clear faster. If you don't have the attack speed, you literally die to camps on your first clear, so would really recommend you run it. Adaptive Force still, and then you have to run the armor in the jungle because most of the camps deal physical damage. So the default runes I'd recommend for Ekko jungle would be this. If you're trying to play more standard, obviously the freeboots and Cosmic Insight is going to give you more value. But damn, dude, Water Walking Nimbus Cloak, like, if you're playing Ekko, you might as well run it, man. You might as well try to play it to be as slippery as possible, and then the secondary runes here, or the primary runes, would just not change other than the Keystone. So that's the runes I'd recommend for Ekko, jungle, and mid lane. Really not that much variation other than the secondary trees. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And if this video helped you, leaving a like on the video helps me. And if you're interested in my Twitch stream, it's twitch.tv/SawyerNelson. I'll probably just be talking about League of Legends there too. So bye bye. Have fun in Season 10. See you later.